This station is conducting alert system emergency broadcast. This is only a test.
Internet, what is up? That's right, folks. We are back. I am back. So, everybody's been wondering, like, where the fuck have you been, Brian? Like, what happened? Like, where no podcast for 2 weeks? Well, people, shit happens. Wild, dynamic things happen. So, what did happen? Well, I went out to California and sat down with my great friend, Nick Betts. Amazing dude. One of my closest buddies. Love him to death. He's a Army sniper, OEF vet, and also creative director over at Vet TV, and did a really good job, like reforming kind of some of their media and their media direction, and he's doing great things over there. I really like what he's put out so far in terms of media for them. And he also runs his individual media firm called Corrupto Media. Is a wild hired gun for videography and photography for the industry, and is phenomenal at what he does. So if you guys haven't listened to the first episode I did with Nick, we did an earlier podcast earlier in the year. It was pretty good, went well, and here's part 2. But in terms of like what happened, where'd we go, why was there a gap in the content? Well, that kind of happens sometimes. We had a perfect storm. Like, I know this will come as a complete surprise. Humans are wily creatures and sometimes unpredictable. And much like a gunfight, they're a moving target. And I had 6 guests lined up to go when I went out to California, Nick being one of them. I managed to sit down with Nick, and then I think in a couple weeks we'll be releasing our podcast that we did with John Wechter, who's a 275 Ranger, and talking to him. So he's going to be upcoming. But I had 4 other guests, and they all had human terrain issues pop up. They had work issues, kid issues, scheduling issues, conflicts, whatnot. So we had 4 cancellations, which is unfortunate. So it kind of left a big gap, and we didn't get as much content in the can as we wanted to. So I had to shift gears, rebook all those guests for later. We're going to try and get them booked and knocked out for hopefully before Christmas time. We'll get some of those people on. But anyway, we had a last minute opportunity where I got pinged by Heroic Hearts Project. And as most of you know, I'm a big advocate for psychedelics and plant medicine healing for veterans with PTSD. So me being one of those people, I got pinged by them, and they wanted to know if I was available to go to South America, to the Amazon, and do that. And so I was not going to pass up that opportunity, and I had a really short time frame to execute within. That caused a media gap. So apologize for that, but it is what it is sometimes. And after as good as I feel fantastic. So thank you very much to Heroic Hearts. We're going to talk about that whole experience on next week's Weapons Free Wednesday, so stay tuned for that. It was a phenomenal experience. I feel fantastic. I feel like I lost 1,000 pounds of energetic weight, so I feel great. Can't thank them enough. I'm going to get Jesse, who's the founder of Heroic Hearts, on the podcast here real soon, so we can talk about what they do and what their mission is and the details of that in depth, definitely before the end of the year. So also be looking forward to getting that cast done and out to you guys. But yeah, here we are. We're back. And special thanks to Cato for Shoot from the Hip. He was hilarious. I was at the airport getting on a plane, and I'm like, hey man, you're gonna have to saddle up and host Weapons Free Wednesday. And I think he did a pretty good job. I think you guys would agree. We got a lot of good positive feedback on the Weapons Free Wednesday that he hosted by himself. So special thanks to Cato for being a great teammate as usual and doing something that was extremely out of the box and difficult for him to do, and he executed. So I'm very proud of him for that, and we will talk more about that probably on next week's Weapons Free Wednesday. I look forward to getting that out to you guys as well. So without further ado, we're going to jump into it and pull up your favorite beverage, whether you're in the office in the morning, get your cup of coffee, or it's the evening time frame and you're going to grab a old-fashioned or a 2-finger whiskey or scotch or a beer and sit down and enjoy episode 38 with my great friend Nick Betts. Let's fucking go. Things are getting tougher when you can't get the top off the bottom of the barrel. Wide open, run my future now. Looking fucking new. All I know is that I don't know. All I know is that I don't know nothing. All I know is that I don't know. All I know is that I don't know nothing. Ta-da!
All right.
Here we are.
We're in.
And we did Everything's Framed.
Yeah.
Look at these things. This is great.
I know. I can't guarantee it's going to be great, but it looked all right.
I mean, you're great. I think it's I think it's going to be awesome because it's except for that one just turned off. Is that okay?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay.
It's still going.
All right. Dude, it's so great to have friends that are fucking amazing subject matter experts in things like we were talking about earlier today when you're like, I feel like, when we were you're like friends with the supply guys and the cooks because those are important things in your life.
And now you have to be friends with way different people with way different professions.
Yeah.
Lawyers,
doctors.
And depending on your skill set, editors, cinematographers, photographers, everyone needs a mentor.
Yeah.
Everyone needs a mentor.
Yeah.
If you don't have one, then you should find one.
Correct.
Because you are the sum of the people that you hang out with.
I agree with that. And here's the thing too, is like you need mentors at like every level. Like every level of what you think your game is. Like I'm well versed in like the getting your ass kicked entrepreneurialism, so I can give out good advice on that. But I'm not a great videographer or like I'm not great at a lot of things. But so I would be like, Nick, I need you to mentor me.
Yeah.
And I would be completely fine with that. Like you're younger than me, but you're crushing your field that I'm interested in. And I feel like that's what people, they get maybe if they're like, oh, I need somebody to like mentor me, they get hung up on the like, well, I'm older than that person. I have more life experience than that person. I've done more of this and more than that. Like, fuck it, shut up. Like if you don't have the fucking niche experience that you're looking for, then it doesn't matter if that person's younger than you or less experienced than you in like the other things that you're good at. You're not trying to be good at what you're good at because you've already done that. So like, it's fine to be like, oh yeah, this person is way younger than me, but they're fucking crushing what they're doing. So, and I like that and I want to do it. So help me.
I mean, like when I first got out, I was working for a 25-year-old GM of a bar as a barback, right? Mm-hmm. Like I'm the lowest dude next to the dishwasher.
Yeah.
And
that's okay.
I'm in no position to tell him anything. He's my boss.
Yeah, because how many years has he been a bartender?
Right, 4, 5, 6. Right, I'm like, I'm the new dick.
Yeah.
So it's like fall back in line. It's literally, that was one of the biggest catalysts is like coming out of the military and thinking your dick don't stink and having to reassimilate. You're back to square one, dude.
You're completely back to square one.
It's like you're the shit senior year in high school.
Yeah.
And then you go to college. Guess what? You ain't the shit no more.
No.
And it's the same concept. It's absolutely the same concept. And if there's somebody out there that's better than you, it's like, fucking milk it, man. As long as they want to listen to you, or I guess as long as you want to listen to them, because that's one of the huge catalysts. And one of the issues that I run into nowadays is I was completely relatively self-taught aside from LA Film.
Yeah.
And LA Film only taught me graphic design. It didn't teach me video. It didn't teach me photo. It didn't teach me fuck all else other than art theory and, color theory and stuff like that. But I actually just got a message the other day from this guy that I was in contract with. And he's like, hey, man, I want to start a vlog. What camera do I get? How do I shoot it? What do I shoot? How do I edit? What software? Mm-hmm. I'm like, for fear of sounding pretentious, it's like, I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
I didn't have anybody hold my hand and telling me that info. You know what I did? I went to the best source in the world. I went to the best college in the world, which is YouTube. Yeah. And I taught myself that stuff.
Just a YouTube university.
Absolutely. Dude, YouTube U.
Yeah.
Cheapest, best university of all time.
Absolutely.
I'm like, I don't have the bandwidth or the time to teach you this. Like, please don't take it personally. Like, I'm not mad or upset or trying to be an asshole, but like, that's a 4-year curriculum that you're asking me to teach you through an Instagram DM.
Yeah, not happening.
Nah, homie. Like,
no, not happening.
Like, I will send you YouTube links, and it's up to you to go down that wormhole.
Yeah, not happening.
So let's start there.
Right.
I told him, I explicitly told him, I'm like, dude, that's a lot. I was like, go to YouTube, ask me if you want links or if you want help, but like search the questions that you're asking for, and you're going to find them. I promise you'll find them. And they are much better explaining that than I am via DM. So.
Yeah, and it's like I have several friends that run multi-million-dollar companies, 7-figure companies. And I'm like, they're CEOs or they're owners. And I'm like, hey, I always preface everything with like, hey, do you have time for me right now, because I realize in running in my own journey and doing the things that I do and knowing how busy and how crazy things are at my tiny level, I'm like, okay, this person's running a fucking like high 7-figure company. I'm like, I'm going to be super respectful of their time. And I'm super stoked that I can like get on my phone and like, I have them on text, or I have them on speed dial, and I'm like, hey bro, what's up? And they answer my calls. And so I'm always super respectful of that, where I'm like, hey, I have some questions for you. Do you have time for me? Can you make time for me? And they either say yes or no. And if they say no, I'm like, cool, when do you have time? Oh, and they give me a date and time. And then I will get involved with that. But I also, to your point, I make sure that I'm as educated as possible on what I want to ask them before I waste their fucking time.
Walk into it. It's the same thing as like if you're walking into like a battalion level brief, or even a company level brief, like have your T's crossed and your I's dotted.
Yep.
Do not fuck this up, right? Like go in there with very explicit questions that you cannot answer, and make sure that you can articulate that.
Yeah.
Because that is the only way, A, that you're going to receive any information that's beneficial to you, or B, that you don't waste their time and that you don't ruin the relationship that you have.
Yeah.
So, like, when I first got started and I first went to SHOT Show, like, I put Triple Out Design, the clothing company, on this huge pedestal as something that I admired. Right? Like,
well, when Patrick Ma was running that, it was something to be desired.
Right. And Patrick Ma was this like pseudo god to me, right?
He crushes. In the design world, he crushes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I thought of him so fucking highly. And then next thing I know, I'm having a cocktail with Patrick Ma. Next thing I know, I'm shaking hands with Patrick Ma. Next thing I know, I'm getting a job offer from Patrick Ma. He's like, hey, come and work for me. He's like, I just started this company called Prometheus Design Works. I'd love to have you on board.
Which is killing it.
I think you're a huge asset. And I did it. And he taught me textile design. Next thing I know now, because I didn't act like a fucking dick, I now was working for the company that I had thoroughly admired, because I didn't ask for anything. I wasn't a mooch. I wasn't some neck-bearded fuck that smelled like bacon and pickles.
Right.
Like trying to like come up to him asking for a handshake. And we ended up working together. And Patrick taught me so much about textile design and product development, for like from the basic level of like Adobe Illustrator aspect. And I took it and ran with it. And then I started Crypto. And I understood that like Crypto had a little bit of a bleed into PDW. And so when I was in contract, I was in Baghdad at the time as a DDM. I ended up reaching out to Patrick and I was like, hey man, this is what I'm doing. And I don't want to step on any toes, but I just want to keep you aware, if there's any issues, like discrepancies or whatever, because my clothing templates that I designed in Adobe Illustrator completely mirrored his. Granted, it was my own clothing and my own design, but the way that he designed it was just so beautifully presented to somebody that would be a seamstress. Of course I'm going to take that. And I told him that, and he's like, good. So once I got Crypto off the ground, Patrick, years later, we ended up having to separate ways. It was very amicable. I've still shot photos for him, done photo shoots and stuff. I'm still very, very close to Patrick Ma. And he ended up reaching out to me after Crypto was kind of well under force. And he's like, you know what, man? You know how many people come to me and tell me that they want to do shit and ask me for help? And you know how much of it is just absolute and complete bullshit because they don't have the wherewithal to do it?
Yeah.
He's like, you do. You did. And I'm proud of you for that. Like, you saw this thing to fruition. Now, granted, almost at this point, it's an embarrassment because I ended up kind of dissolving Crypto and maneuvering it in a certain way.
No, it's not an embarrassment. You pivoted. You did where your passion was taking you. Where you evolved to was what you're doing now. And like, yes, you were heavily involved in design, but I don't see that as a failure. I don't see that as a mistake. I see that as like you recognized.
It's a redirection priorities.
Yeah, you pivoted.
Yeah.
And that happens in business all the time.
I mean, the clothing market is so saturated. It's like, what am I offering, right? Not only that, I'm catering. At the time, I was catering to snipers.
Yeah.
And we always, as snipers, held this like huge pedigree on, we were like the 0.1%. I mean, the infantry already in and of itself in the military is like the 0.1% of the military.
Yeah.
Now you add in snipers, you're talking like the 0.00001%.
Yeah.
And that's my business model demographic. Fucking guess you don't like money, dude. And I realized that. I mean, it did well and it was huge, but I couldn't sustain it because I left contract and I ended up, kind of getting a real job. Actually, that was right when I first got into marketing. And I look back on everything that I did back then with crypto, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, it's almost embarrassing, but at the same time, it's almost rewarding because of how little I knew and how successful it was at the time. But Patrick taught me anything. And so I guess moral of the story is Patrick didn't want to waste his time. And I was so terrified to ask Patrick for any advice with regards to anything, with Illustrator, product design, like whatever. I made sure that I didn't waste his time, because if anybody doesn't have a lot of time, it's him. And I couldn't think of more for it, And so it's like, don't waste someone's time with something that you could easily Google. There's a lot of shit you can't Google, but don't waste someone's time with something that you can Google because you're fucking lazy.
Yeah.
Like, take admiration from somebody, take inspiration from somebody, and then look it up. Do it. And because no one gives a fuck about you except for you.
Correct.
So, do it up.
Do your research.
Right. Like, the world's not handed to you.
No.
So, world wasn't handed to me. Just dig. Dig. I never made a video in my life up until 2 years ago. And then just sold one. Just sold the documentary as the first producer and director, which is huge. It was painful, but it was huge. But there's so many life lessons learned on that thing.
Maybe unheard of. 2 years in and you're selling a documentary to a major network. That's fucking not the reg, dude.
No, I guess I never really thought about it like that. So
it's not.
Yeah, that makes it a little more interesting.
Yeah, fucking cheers to that, bro.
Yeah, salute, dude.
Yeah. I mean,
these glasses.
I love these glasses. Is that 7.62 rounds?
5.56. Come on, dude.
Can't see. I'm fucking blind.
Actually, you are.
I'm blind as shit. I was trying to eat
reading glasses.
Yeah, I was trying to eat sushi today, and I was like, I had to bust out my reading glasses to read the menu.
Yeah.
Price of getting old. No, I think that realistically, what you've accomplished in such a short amount of time is like really remarkable, to be honest. Like, you don't go from, oh, I've never done this before. How do I do it? I'm going to watch YouTube. And then 2.5 years later, you're fucking selling a documentary to a major network, to a major streaming network.
Yeah. It's nuts, man. Like, I remember growing up, I was a sponsored skater back in the day, and I remember editing my skate parts with one of my good friends, Sam Petrello. And we were in his room on Final Cut Pro as like teenagers, watching him edit this stuff. And I loved it. Like, I loved the process. It was super confusing trying to figure out, how to stack things and, sound effects and audio and like all this stuff. But I was obsessed with it. So I knew what right looked like. I knew I knew what I wanted things to look like, but I just didn't know how to get there. And getting there was the hardest part. But getting there just means learning the software. Once you understand your paintbrushes and your tools, then game on.
Yeah.
So it was hours and hours and hours on YouTube. I got no pity for the motherfucker that is playing video games in his free time and is bitching about his pay wage, or is bitching about his position in the company, or bitching about not having a raise. No pity, dude. None.
Yeah.
Right? Because, like, I didn't give a fuck. I knew that I had to do this in order to survive.
Yeah.
Right? Like, 3 years ago, I was jobless, homeless, recently divorced, and clinically depressed. I'm like, I have to fix this. I have to. And sometimes that's a rut that people don't come out of, but I ended up coming out of it. And luckily, honestly, it was kind of thanks to a hallucinogen that really just kind of cleared things up for me. But I ended up looking around at the time, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing? And I was just embarrassed. I was so embarrassed at like the current situation that I was in. I'm like, I gotta fix this. I have to fix this. And so I did. I woke up next morning, drove everyone home. I'm like, get the fuck out of my life. And I just spent the next 6 months working on myself. The next 6 months working on moving back to the States. The next 6 months on, getting mentally healthy. The next 6 months trying to find a job. And luckily it worked. Which is why I don't have any pity for the motherfucker that's looking for a handout.
Right.
And in 3 years it worked. In 3 years, my life could not have taken a larger turn of events.
Yeah, I'm willing to help anybody out that fucking approaches me, but I definitely have a fucking laundry list. Like, I have a list of questions regarding all the things you just covered. And I'm like, okay, how's your relationships? Are you married? Are you divorced? Are you in the middle of a divorce? How's your substance intake? I have this like screening checklist, and I ask these people these things because I want to help people, especially if they're veterans. I want to help them. And I've had a tremendous amount of people like hit me in my DMs and like ask me questions about things. I'm always happy to do that. But when it comes to veterans specifically that have very pointed and very specific questions about things that they want to do that are paralleling what I'm doing, I'm always like, hey, okay, neat that you have these, I want to help you, but how are these other things in your life? Because if you are distracted in all these other areas of your life, you're not going to focus on like the things you're asking me questions about. And I'm wasting my time. You're wasting your time. You're wasting my fucking time. And I don't want that. I don't want that for me. And I definitely don't want that for you. So you got to kind of like do some internal housekeeping, clean some of that up, do some research, come to the table with some like really good questions, and then yeah, if you do all of that work, I'm happy to sink time into you. Happy to.
And the hard part is, though, right, is like this question comes via DM, and now you have to take the time out of your day just to kind of be the asshole and like tell them that.
Yeah.
And then hopefully they receive it appropriately, and then they do it, which, I mean, there's a reason why we do it, right? It's like, it's a filter process.
Yeah.
It's like, how serious are you? You know, like, come to the table ready to eat, and then we can go. And one of two things is going to come out of it. You either try to teach them what you know and try to go down the process, which they're lazy, and then all they're going to do is just blame it on, I asked for help and it didn't work out, or like blah, blah, blah. Or they're going to be like, yeah, Bishop or Betts was a dick and they didn't fucking help me out, and like, fuck this guy. And now they're going to have animosity towards us because it's like now we're somehow holier than thou, which is a reason that they can't even begin to understand. Or, and this is actually probably the sub 0.1%, they actually take it to heart. And then they come back in 3, 5, 6 months later with their shit together, and they're like, all right, I got it now. Which I actually have yet to have anybody. I take that back. I've had 2 really good friends that said, I want to be photographers. How do I do this? And I was like, you serious? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, all right, I'll teach you what you want. And they're thriving now. Now they have full-time careers as a photographer post-COVID, which is next to impossible.
Okay, so what sets them, unpack that. What sets them aside from like everyone else that approached you about it?
Wherewithal, dude, like no quit. You know, the fact that as soon as they had a second or an ounce of downtime, they're on YouTube and they're looking shit up, right? I gave them links.
Yeah.
I told them, this is who I watched. You know, this is the stuff to look up. This is your camera functions, right? It's like, honestly, it could be so militaristic in the aspect of, all right, I want to be a photographer. Okay, so what's the first part about being a photographer? Sure, the eye. But B, do you even know how to fucking use your camera? You know, and I ask guys, I'm like, what are your camera settings like when you're shooting? Like, I give them a setting, right? I'm like, all right, you're shooting a car, it's moving fast, it's doing this, you're at 300 yards, and you have a fucking 24-70. What are you going to do? What are your settings? And they're like, I'm like, fucking wrong answer, dude. Right? At least try.
Yeah.
And it's no different from the military. And it's like, how do I use this gun? How do I use this optic? How do I use the M better? Or, you know, this fucking fill or the clue, or, you know, like, you do cross training for a purpose, and that's in order to learn this system. And you learn the system in order to be proficient. You can't be a fucking photographer if you're not proficient at a camera. It's fucking not rocket science.
No.
It's so easy. And a camera, granted, it could be difficult, but like it's not rocket science. It's a triangle of things. What's your aperture? What's your shutter speed? And what's your ISO? That's it. And like, trust me, I'm not trying to talk down to it, making it like sound easy. I mean, now it's second nature, but it's second nature because of practice, right? You know, the guys that we know that are savage shooters are not, they're epic shooters because of the time that they put into it. Practice makes perfect. And for whatever reason, any military fucking dick that you would ask would be like, yeah, repetitions, where you at? They're the first person to talk shit and cannibalize somebody, but they're the last person to enact it.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you want to talk a big game about doing X, Y, and Z, but what are you doing? You know, and that's like my biggest beef with it is like your heart's not into it. Like you're just wasting time. You're wasting your time and you're wasting my time. If you really want to get down to the brass tacks, you can do it. Right? My girlfriend's a prime example. Yeah, an amazing woman, super talented. I ended up seeing her creative talent through these like birthday and Valentine's Day cards that she would mail me that she would hand draw. And like her drawings were phenomenal. And I'm like, that's talent. That's art. And
Nikki's rad.
She's rad. Dude. Shout out to Nikki.
Yeah.
So I asked her, I was like, do you want to do this? Like, do you want to be creative? Because up until this point, you know, she was running restaurants and she was running, you know, multi-billion-dollar real estate corporations for CEOs and execs. She didn't know or think that you could make a career out of something like this. Mm-hmm. And I showed her. And I'm like, do you want to know? I will teach you everything that you want to know. I'm not saying I'm a fucking masterclass, but at least you have a lot of insight. And she was down. She was way down. And now I can't tell the difference between her photos and my photos. Now I ended up helping.
Yeah, she put up some stuff that she was like, oh, this is mine. And I was working on this. And I was like, whoa, she's good.
I can't tell the difference, which is why I ended up like selling her one of my cameras because I don't want to take any credit from her. Yeah, like at all. If anything, I'd rather just give it all to her. But her competency and her willing to learn and her devotion to it is everything. Yeah. And now she's taking in a fat day rate. Mm-hmm. And that's with a lot of help, but it's also because of her devotion. And that's all that I can ask of you. It's just be
I feel like those two things are online with each other. Like I feel like people that are really good at what they do don't have a problem helping you or mentoring you if you put the time and effort into your craft.
Jonathan Wagner is a prime example. My mentor, right? I met Jonathan through Instagram, right? As soon as I got out of the military, I moved to San Diego, and I found him on Discover, right? This dapper-looking Aussie fuck, you know, driving a BMW that loves guns. And I was like, holy shit, dude. Like, I dig this guy's style, so I hit him up. And I'm like, hey, man, if you want to go shoot sometime, like, let me know. Because I was really, really into shooting, obviously, as soon as I got out of the military, because I was coming right out of recce. And next thing I know, you know, we're super close. Now, Jonathan is a co-founder of Life Proof Phone Cases, and so already there's that pedigree. He's immigrated from Australia to the States. And
Straya,
bait. And has completely enveloped himself within the industry. And with a pedigree at that, for coming from a non-shooting background in any capacity, you can fucking own a gun in Australia. And this guy, as soon as I got off of Blackwater and contracting, he's like, hey, Jess is pregnant, and that's his wife. You know, she has to leave the company and take maternity leave. Do you want to take over her position as a social media manager? I'm like, bro, I got no fucking idea what social media managing even looks like. He's like, don't worry about it. Jess will teach you everything. You're good to go. Next thing I know, I'm working for this company. I'm making a decent living, you know, and...
Do you think he hired you because you were honest about that? And you were like, instead of being like, yeah, that sounds great, I'll do it. Do you think he hired you because maybe you were like super honest about that and you were like, and transparent, and you're like, and authentic, and you were like, oh, no, I can't. I don't know what that looks like.
I think that's a question for him. You know, I definitely don't want to put words in his mouth, but I've had explicit conversations with him in the not so far, you know, distant past. And I was asking him, I'm like, actually, like sometimes I even called him like crying. And I'm like, dude, thank you. Like fucking thank you. I would be nowhere. I wouldn't fucking be right here right now. I promise you that. I would be nowhere if it wasn't for him. And as a lowly social media manager, he brought me into package design meetings. He brought me into brand design meetings. He brought me into logo development. He brought me into fucking the color meetings. I had no business being in that as a social media manager. And he brought me in there. And I just shut the fuck up and sat in the corner. And I just listened. And I was like, holy shit. And now, after that was probably 8 years ago, I think. Now, he's VP of design of non-gun parts at Magpul, formerly built Saga up until they fucking shit the bed and buried themselves. And still one of my closest friends. He's best friends with my girlfriend as well. And I couldn't ask for a better mentor. He's one of the most talented designers in the world. But like, he's explicitly told me, like, I knew that you wouldn't fuck this up, right? Like, I saw in you that you were going to take this and run with it. And part of that was because A, I didn't want to let him down, and B, I didn't have a choice, right? If I want to not contract and work for the State Department, the agency is a fucking
errand boy.
Because
that's what we are.
Exactly. If I didn't want to wear a fucking suit in 120 degrees with a beard and not give him a fuck about, I better listen to him. And I knew that. I understood the opportunity that was afforded to me because I applied to 160 jobs and didn't get one email back. And he vetted my resume. Like, you can't hide sniper and recon on your resume for the past 10 years of your career, of your adulthood. And he's like, nah, fuck it. You're coming with me. And because of that, I'm like, Raj, won't let you down. And I didn't. And yeah, I've gone from company to company, but not for a lack of effort, not for a lack of skill.
Yeah, not for performance reasons.
Yeah, honestly, a lot of the companies were just buried by the CEOs because they're narcissists. But I'm like, okay, put my boots back on and let's go. And let's try to figure out, like, fuck the woe is me shit, dude. No one gives a fuck. So figure it out.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've seen, especially in our industry, where you get a killer designer, killer design team, great marketers, great, executive management team, CEO, COO, and they are smashing. That team, that culture, they develop a culture, everything is amazing. And then venture capital comes in and they're like, oh yeah, we like that. It's making lots of money. Cool. And then they buy it and they're like, oh, we're not going to change anything. We're not going to.
And they change everything.
Yeah. Then they're like,
they flush out the entire staff, put in their own staff that work for pennies on the dollar, which you get what you pay for.
Right.
That's what SOG did.
And then you see companies tank. That's why you see companies tank.
Yep. That's what SOG did. Yep. Like, the first company that I worked at with Jonathan as social media manager, that was Robo3D. They fucking tanked. They even went IPO on the Australian Stock Exchange and tanked within a year. And so that even looks bad on my resume, right? Because I'm now working in the creative department or marketing department for all these companies that are tanking. Like, what does that say? But at the same time, I'm the first one to go. And I have been the first one to go, as the social media manager, and it's like, all right. And I understood that, right? I understood after getting like shit canned long enough, because I was social media manager, I was like, what else do I need to know? So I went to LA Film, got my degree in graphic design because I wanted to be able to do that. I picked the camera back up and I can do that. I picked video back up. I can do that. I learned fucking UI, UX, and web design because I can do that. I wanted to make myself indispensable. I wanted to make myself unfireable.
Yeah. And
during COVID, I've never seen more success, and that's because the entire marketing department is dispensable because they're very, what's the right word? Like, every person has their job and they only do their job.
They're very siloed.
Yep. Yeah. And so I went in with a whole lot of butterflies and fucking rainbows, and I was like, yeah, no, I can do it all. I made sure that I could handle it, but I was like, I can do it all. So this company just freed up, which is honestly probably $500,000-$700,000 in essential revenue or liquid capital to pay their marketing department. And now I'm just like, pay me $100,000 and I can do it all. They're like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to farm some stuff out, but you're going to get everything you want.
Right.
And it worked. And then it worked for one company, and then it worked for another, and then it worked for another. as long as my bandwidth is managed and I'm not putting enough or too much food on my plate, I'm good to go. So then it's a 60K contract, then a 100K contract, and another 100K contract, and then a 40K contract, and then retainers of 2,000, 4,000, 6,000 a month. I'm like, holy fuck.
Yeah. You're like, wait, what happened?
I'm like, whoa.
I was starving and watching YouTube like a while ago, and now I'm doing good. Yeah.
I'm like, this is nuts.
Because you're hustle. Yeah.
And I mean, it was just sleepless nights, fucking watching YouTube, going to school, working a full-time job, sucking dick to pay rent, and in the middle of a divorce, full-time student, full-time employee, full-time running my own company. I'm just, I can't fuck this up. I already failed a marriage. I'm already embarrassed by that. I don't want to be embarrassed again. I don't like being embarrassed. So let's not embarrass ourselves, and let's make sure that we're putting our best foot forward.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the recipe is not the same for every single human being, and the recipe for how you got from point A to point B, it can be talked about, it can be discussed, but it can't be replicated. Everybody's got their own path, and you can desire to do something, and you can look for a mentor, and you can do all your research, but your path and how you get to where you want to be is not the same as like how you got to where you want to be, or how I'm getting to where I want to be. Like, it's just not the same.
No, it's not at all. And for people thinking that there's an easy answer in any capacity, like, you're wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but like, you're wrong. And so when I get excessive DMs or messages or whatever, even from people that were complete fucking pricks to me in the military, are now asking me for help, fuck you, dude.
Right.
Like, chill out in Akron. I enjoy. You know, like, you have done nothing to warrant me doing you a favor in any capacity.
Yeah.
Even if I didn't know you, like, I still wouldn't fucking hand you this. And like, I know I sound like a dick, but at the end of the day, like, I got a life. You know, I got a girlfriend. I fucking dealing with the divorce. I got multiple different, you know, revenue streams and careers and projects on the book. Like, I don't have time to tell you how I did this because it's not the same, number one. And number two, I know you probably don't have the fuck all to watch YouTube and actually try to do it yourself. Because if you're reaching out via
Correct.
DMs asking how to like change your life and like switch to a new career path, you can't fucking fix it.
No.
I knew I couldn't even fix it without a camera, a DSLR. You can't be a photographer without a camera. You can't be a cinematographer without a camera. You know, like, you're fucked.
I don't think that's a wrong way to look at that situation, because it's true. You did the work. You did the work. So people, I mean, it's the same thing with me. Like, people will hit me up all the time and they're like, how did you do this? How did you do that? And I did it by fucking doing my own research, taking the time, asking people. Like, after I had a page full of notes, I'm like, hey, I have these notes. I want to talk about these things. Okay, cool. You know, like, I showed up to the table prepared, ready to go, ready to do the work, and I've done the work. You've done the work. So I'm never going to turn anybody down, but I'm definitely like, nowadays I have questions and I'm like, did you do this? Did you do this? I have 3-4 questions, and if you don't answer them, I'm like, yeah, no, go watch YouTube. That's what I tell them. Go watch YouTube. Or if it's something that like is simple, where I'm like, you should be paying me for this, which is like a lot of gun build shit, a lot of ballistics knowledge, a lot of like long range marksmanship stuff. I'm like, go join my Patreon page. That's knowledge that you're not going to suck out of me in one like little DM session. One, I can't, what you're asking me, I can't transfer that knowledge to you in a DM via Instagram. That's going to take a lot more. So you're going to have to go sign, you're going to have to go sign up, and you're going to have to pay the toll, and you're going to have to, like, if you want those answers and you want that experience and you want that knowledge, it's valuable. Go pay for it. Because I spent years and years and years, as you've spent years and years and years, perfecting that craft in previous careers, and then now with like videography or marketing or graphic arts design, like, you've paid the toll for years, and now people just want to sign up, and they want to just show up in your DMs and get a cheat code, and they're just like, oh, how do I shortcut the system? How do I do the least amount of work to get to where you're at?
Yeah, it's not back forward A B B B. No, like
select start.
Yeah, there's no fucking cheat code to this. And that's what makes it even more difficult too, is like trying to explain it. It's like every question that typically comes to me is so one-dimensional.
Yeah.
Like they want to ask, how do I be a successful photographer? I wasn't. I mean, I did okay, but like I peaked. And the reason why I went to video is because I could be a successful photographer anymore. I wanted to make more money.
Well,
and there's only so much money in photo.
Pictures are dead on social media.
Yeah, no shit, right? And
Pictures
so it's
are
like
dead.
you got to move with the times. You know, like you can't be the fucking boomer you're making fun of.
Yeah.
You know, and even then, that's not enough. Video. All right. So you know the best part about like being a video guy is like not only do I know how to produce, direct, and film it, I know how to edit it, and now I know how to market it. I know how to do the paid ad, the SEO. I know where to fucking put it. I know what format to shoot it in. You know, the frame rates. Like, there's so much more that goes into it in order to make yourself indispensable. But they're asking one-dimensional questions. I'm like, dude, this is a 4-year degree that you're asking me to fucking tell you overnight, and that's why
in
I'm
a
pissed.
DM.
Right.
It's a 4-year degree that you're asking me in a DM. It's 10 years. It's a decade worth of my life experience that you're asking me in a DM.
And I've noticed too, and especially recently, like a lot of it's kind of getting weird where I have a lot of guys ask me about like gun questions, right? And like ballistics. What's the difference between 6.5 Creedmoor and 6.5 fucking, I don't know, SPR or a 260 or, you know, like Nosler. I'm like, honestly, homie.
That's not my life anymore.
It's not. Yeah. Honestly, it's not. And I've become almost like to an uncomfortable point, like so estranged from long range shooting. Like I can do it now, right? I found like this old like notebook from sniper school of like all these formulas, and I literally just took it. Now I put it on my toilet as like my like shitter read, so that way I can pull it out and read like the practical math and just like I'll give myself a test question. Like, all right, I'm at 650 with 6.5 mile an hour wind at 2/4 value or 2/3 value. I'm like shooting a 260. What's my dope? You know, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, whoa, this is way harder than it used to be. Oh, fuck. Yeah. You know, I'm like, oh, no. And so actually, I mean, to my detriment, I wouldn't get off the pot until I fucking figure it out. Mm-hmm. And I've noticed, you know, myself getting further and further away from it. And the reason why I keep up with it is because I don't want to turn out like the fucking cliche Vietnam vet that's now like this, you know, extra military advisor on a movie set that fucking last time he did anything he was wearing a flak vest.
Right. Or it's like Uncle Rico. I can throw a football over the mountain.
It's the same thing. And it's like, like it's not my life anymore and I'm not going to do it, but I'm also still shooting excessive amounts of tactical stuff. You know, like I still need to kind of have a knowledge, you know, I don't want to be washed up. And also, I mean, it's still just good practice. Like I still want to hunt. I still want to bag an elk this year. And that's all mission critical. So I try not to get like too crazy about it, but you know, these guys come to me often in the DMs and like, what gun should I build? How should I do this? Blah, blah, blah. And I kind of have my answers, but I don't know if they're up to date. And it's like, I'm not trying to throw you wrong info, but you know, I'm not Todd Hotnet. So
who's the Albert Einstein of ballistics?
He is. He's fucking Jesus of long guns.
Yeah, he is for sure.
He is for
sure. He's sure.
I mean, that guy taught me everything I need to know. I still use Horus reticles in all my, you know, in all my optics.
Yeah.
Horus, Night Force. That's my jam. Now, don't blow me up on Instagram. That's what I shoot. It's various amounts of long guns, but Night Force. Night Force is my optic, and the Horus reticle is my jam.
Yeah, Todd's been around for a really hot minute.
If you're teaching Damn Neck to some boomhauer coming out of Texas, and you're doing that shit, then good on you.
John went to Todd's course in 2007.
You did?
And I know he was teaching in 2004. MARSOC, the predecessors of MARSOC, Det 1.
Yeah.
Had him come in and teach a course in 2004, I think. So Todd's been around the block. He's amazing, and the shit that he's done is remarkable. Like he's got this formula, a speed drop formula, which my producer Kato is a fucking precision rifle nerd. Loves it. He fucking nerds the fuck out on all things precision and math. He's Asian, so he loves that shit. But he showed me this shit the other day, and like he was like, oh, well, they used to call this like the fucking 12-inch fucking drill or whatever, and he like showed me this stuff, and it's like how to convert mill reticle into a BDC. So like you do this thing with it, like you do this math calculation and you true the gun, and then you like get you get your velocities and your bullet weight and all that stuff dialed in on the app, and then it tells you what your mill you dial back on your mills, and so you literally subtract a certain amount of mills based on your barrel length, your load, your muzzle velocity, and it fucking turns your reticle into a BDC. So you just do holds at like
right. So the first thing I'm thinking of, and this is a huge asset to me when I was doing sniper shit, is depending on distance, length, and target environment. Yeah, you true your gun, you figure out all this shit, you get your barometric, like all that shit needs to be dialed in. But then you set your reticle to 3, right? And that gives you a lot more room on the top end, and a lot more room on the bottom end. Or when I was shooting the 50 cals, we would set it to 5. You know, it gives you a lot more room on either end. And then you're like, okay. And then obviously you dial it in. And then you're like, all right, 500 is my 500. And then once you work your way up the reticle, then you're talking 400, 300, 200, 100, which if you're shooting a 50, you don't need fucking any of that. All you're trying to do is give yourself more space on the bottom end.
Yeah.
So then you're working 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. And yeah, and that's part of it. But I mean, there's so many more little tricks of the trade. I will say
so many.
I learned more going through the Blackwater sniper course than I did going through the U.S. military sniper course.
Yeah.
Way more.
You're not the only person that's told me that.
Yeah, actually, I mean, every sniper that I went through the Blackwater course with would say the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
So there was one thing especially that I learned at the Blackwater program when I was going through the sniper school, and there was this loophole formula.
Yeah, the loophole.
Right?
Yeah, dude.
All right, so yeah, I know I'm not talking to a wall here. Like standing 20, 30 feet back, shooting through a 2-inch by 2-inch square, and not poking a hole in the target. Ladies and gentlemen, Rhea
is here.
Platts. Good Platts. And shooting through and not making a hole in the target and still hitting your target 600, 700, 800 meters out. And just being able to figure out that defilade, you know, it's like the scope height difference, you know, your bore to optic ratio. I know I wrote it down, and they told us not to write it down, but I wrote it down, and I have it somewhere.
It was classified.
Yeah. It
still might be
classified.
Yeah. I went in 2007, and I'd never seen this shit before, and he was like, he took a sheet of like cardboard. You
were at Blackwater, right?
No. I went to Todd's course in Utah.
Oh, okay.
And I went with a bunch of my recon buddies. Like he basically, like I was like my best friend was the platoon sergeant of the recon platoon, and so he was like, hey man, come to this course with me, because I was already working in Blackwater for like a couple of years, and he was like, come to this course with us.
I would love to go.
Yeah, so I was strap hanging on this course, and so Todd set up this, like on these stands, he set up this like huge chunk of cardboard, and it was like it was like the cardboard it was like a box that a Samsung refrigerator came in or something. He set it up on these like stands, and then he went up to it and he like drew a little fucking he measured 1 by 1 square, a 1 by 1 square, a 1 inch by 1 inch square. He cut it out, and then he pushed it like, I don't know, like 12 or 15 feet away.
12 or 15 feet away.
12 or 15 feet away.
Keep that in mind. 12 or 15 feet away with the 1 inch square.
Yeah. And then he was like, and then downrange, he had a LaRue.
The flippers.
The flippers. The drop. They just drop when you hit them, and then they come back up. And so he was like, okay, and like do your formula, and he like had us like do the formula, and then we're like, okay, cool. This is like how many mils you hold, and then you like fucking look through your scope, and you're looking through that 1 by 1 hole, like it, dude. It's a 1 inch by 1 inch square, and the target is 700 meters downrange. We did the math. You look at it, you're like, okay, you hold your mills, you fucking shoot. Dude, my bullet went through that fucking 1 inch by 1 inch hole and hit a fucking piece of steel 700 yards away.
That was the biggest mind-blowing
I'd never
fucking
seen
thing I've
I'd
ever
never
done.
seen anything like it. I've
Ever.
never done anything like that before. I was like, my mind was blown. I was like,
There's a reason why it's classified.
yeah.
I mean, granted, DC Sniper kind of put on a strong show of that in like the micro level, but like that's my point.
Yeah.
Like that, you are not fucking fighting anybody if that's what they're doing. If they want to do the loophole formula, and if someone wants to wreak havoc, and they know that, which is only a select few, which if something did happen, we're probably going to get people knocking on our doors.
Yeah.
Your door, my door.
Well,
I mean, we all go to the database.
Yeah. Obama came to Todd State, and Secret Service advance team fucking came to visit him and was like, hey, what are you doing? What's going on? Like, how are things? Like, came and did a little, like, knock and talk with him before Obama showed up because they knew about this formula that he was teaching.
I mean, that's Secret Service's biggest nemesis.
Yeah.
Biggest nemesis.
Yeah, it's wild, dude. That formula is wild.
That's why, and I'm not trying to insinuate anything, but like that's why I'm like, don't fucking poke the bear. Right? Like I am a fucking tax-paying, law-abiding citizen, but do not poke the bear.
Well,
I mean, I remember the DC Sniper wreaking absolute fucking havoc.
Dude, he
on
paralyzed the whole area.
Yeah, the whole northeastern fucking seaboard. He paralyzed.
Yeah.
And that was a dickwad in a fucking Chevrolet.
Yeah.
Like, what happens when daddy gets behind the gun? And granted, we're not sociopaths, but it's like the capability's out there. And after 21 years of war, we're not the only ones that know this formula.
Correct. And I'm the same way as you are. Like, I don't want any more violence in my life. Like, dude, I love I love what we do. I love media.
I'm an art major.
Yeah. I went to art school.
Yeah.
I'm done with violence. I'm fucking done with it. I don't want any part of it. But I can promise you that, like, if we get pushed too far, we're really good at it. And you will be really, really sorry. You'll be really, really sorry that you pushed the GWAT generation, as I like to call us, too far.
Did you ever hear Joe Rogan's quote about that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that fucking savage.
It's completely true.
Break glass in case of war.
Yeah.
And you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
No.
And we're the only ones that know it.
Yeah.
And especially in this day and age, this generation of, fucking pronouns and BLM and all this stuff. It's like, dude, I got sympathy and empathy for everyone. Like I want to see nothing but everyone fucking hold hands and walk down the street together.
I agree with that. I have no propensity to do violence on anybody, but if you show up to my house
with the intent of committing violence, you're going to be met
with violence.
Extreme violence.
Yeah.
And no prejudice.
And then because you showed up with violence and I had to perpetuate violence on this, because here's the problem with the whole equation is that the second you perpetuate violence on the fuckers that wanted to bring violence to you in the first place that are unconstitutional, they will paint you.
Now you're racist and a bigot.
You're racist, you're an extremist, you're a terrorist. Like it's the second they encroach on your constitutional rights to the point that it's time to spill blood, you will be labeled as a fucking terrorist, and then the state comes after you, and what I mean by state is the country, the fucking federal government comes after you, and that's why I think states' rights are so important in terms of like the state laws to help protect their citizens and shield them from what is going on with the federal government, because if that doesn't happen, you will have a bunch of people that were fucking like us, that were super patriotic, went and did our duty and did it at a high level, that are now criminals. We're now fucking felons.
Yep.
We're now felons.
Straight up.
And so I'm going to tell you right now, if I'm now overnight, I become a felon with a stroke of a pen,
I'm going to own the felony.
I'm
conviction.
going to become the best felon that you've ever seen, because now I have nothing to lose.
Right.
You've made me a felon, so I have nothing to lose. And once you make me have nothing to lose and you're taking away my life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness by making me a felon because you're unconstitutional.
Because you wear an American flag on your fucking hat or
Yeah.
your shirt,
Yep.
or you even fly one in your front doorstep. Now, like, dude, when the fuck did the American flag become racist or anything other than just pride?
Right. Yeah. So my radar, and for the longest time, I'm going to be honest with you, like I was listening to, people that were on the extreme right talking about these things for a long time. And I was like, you're crazy. That's never going to happen. That's never going to happen. That's never going to happen. But then the older I've gotten, the more I've started to pay attention to politics and what's getting passed in the House and the Senate. And recently, I just did a bunch of research on the Inflation Reduction. Well, first it was the first thing I did research on was the Child Protection Act, I think is what it was called. Child Protection Act, or maybe it was the School Protection Act. I think it was the Child Protection Act. And these acts and what they're called on Congress, on U.S. Congress.gov, these bills have nothing to do with what they're called.
No.
Like the Child Protection Act was all about banning guns, semi-automatic guns, and it was all about banning high-capacity magazines. The Inflation Reduction Act, which to me, I'm like looking at this, I'm like, it's complete psychosis because they are claiming that they're trying to reduce inflation with this act, but it's all about the Green New Deal and making sure the U.S. government is driving electric cars, which I'm going to be honest with you about. I'm not completely opposed to being good stewards of the planet and environmentalism and like green energy. But like when you're taking $280 million for the next 10 years, because it's not just for this year.
Right.
This is where Americans get confused because they're like, oh, Inflation Reduction Act. And they look at it and they're like, oh, they want this much money. Well, it's just for this year. No, it's for the next 10 years. Like if you look at the verbiage in the bill, like I read through the bill. I've been doing this where I've been getting on Congress.gov and I'm like, I look up these bills and I read through the text because there's a summary.
You must be really bored in Salt Lake.
I mean, I just like to be a well-read American.
I mean, I don't blame you, dude.
Yeah.
I literally read everything the right puts out. I read everything the left puts out, and then I try to come up with my own opinion.
Yes, correct. I do the same thing, but I just feel like things are going to such an extreme if we're not paying attention. Because I'm going to tell you, like in the past, like I didn't give a shit because I didn't feel like we were going off of a cliff.
I agree. Actually,
I didn't feel like we were going
agree.
off a cliff. Back in the day,
I was abstinent from politics back in the day up until it became a thing.
Yeah.
And honestly, like for better or worse, like up until it came to Trump. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is causing like a big divide, right?
Huge divide.
Regardless of what side you stand on, like it still causes a divide and it's still something, you need to pay attention to. And then I started paying attention. I mean, well, it actually kind of started with Hillary and then, Trump and just kind of compounded itself
That whole thing,
more
yeah.
to where we are now. And it's only getting worse.
Way worse.
Like a lot.
Yeah, so that's why I've like started paying very close attention to what's going on. Because before I didn't care. I'm like, okay, right, left. The biggest divides we have are the abortion issue and green energy. Those are the biggest divides. That was the old platform of like the old, like what I would call old school fucking Democrats. They were like, they wanted
The mid-2000s Democrats.
Yeah, yeah. And now the left has like pushed so hard into this like progressive woke agenda that I just like, I can't even look at it. I can't even get on board with it. There's nothing that they're talking about over there that I'm like, yeah, I can get behind that. Oh, you want to push fucking Antifa and BLM, which are the real fucking domestic terrorist organizations? Yeah, I can't get on board with that because I watched them burn cities for a whole summer.
Or murder cops just like chilling in a fucking
Murder
car.
cops and burn cities for a whole summer. I can't get behind that.
No, and dude, and I'm vehemently against what happened. What is it, the January 6th shit, or like the Capitol insurrection? Like, it's moronic. I will say that one of the takeaways that I noticed from that is if that's a bunch of boogaloo boys and rednecks and good old boys, next to nothing was really destroyed all that much. Nothing was lit on fire. Only one person died, and that was from a Capitol police officer shooting through a door and killing some Air Force chick that actually lived here in San Diego. Like, that's actually the most minimal damage of all time that's ever been conducted on behalf of like a protest, and especially with regards to all the other protests that were happening. Now, like, I need this to be known, like, I do not support or condone this in any capacity, but if a bunch of fucking Cletuses take over the Capitol building with minimal destruction, minimal violence, in minimal time, we got an issue.
Okay, so my opinion on that whole thing was, I don't condone it either, but I understand why it happened.
It's like, why are they allowed to burn down 20 fucking cities, protest, kill people, fucking have all
Kill
this?
cops.
Right. All of this. Now, the Boogaloo Boys take one on the chin. Only one person dies, not by their own hand. Minimal damage. The Capitol building didn't burn to the ground. And now all of a sudden, like, this is the biggest travesty of all mankind. Like, chill.
Right, and there's clear evidence that the FBI had agents that were intermixed, that were influencing, instigating people, and trying to get them to do things. And
what's up with that? Like the brick drops. Did you see those videos? Where there was pallets of bricks being dropped off. Now, I don't know that this is fact. I don't have Jamie to validate any of this, but like, I saw videos come through in social media to where there was planned riots and protests, and there was hundreds and thousands of bricks,
pallets of bricks,
being dropped off in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
Who's doing that? Why?
I don't have the answers to that, but I'm also curious as to why that's happening. Yeah, so there's lots of elements. There are funding mechanisms that are funding bad actors to burn things down and riot. And then there's people dropping pallets off. And then there's the FBI, like, trying to instigate people to do things that they're, like, getting people emotionally wound up about. Like, people are emotionally charged. Like, the last election was heavily emotionally charged because I feel like middle America and then America that was on the right side of the house was, like, tired of watching the left side fucking burn shit to the fucking ground. Like, a lot of shit got
destroyed. And it's changed a lot of shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's changed the whole dynamic. I mean, whether anyone likes to hear it or not, like, Trump created this diversity in the country of, like, you're either left or right. And it only exacerbated itself and got stronger. And now, I mean, it couldn't be more prevalent, right? I mean, people are not talking to their family members.
We are the most polarized we've ever been.
Ever. And also, we're the youngest and only country with a two-party system, and as with regards to a democracy.
Yeah.
And, I mean, sure, we have other parties, but the DNC and the RNC are not funding other parties. No. I mean, ultimately, no, we do have a two-party system. And I think that part of the process is something that needs to dissolve and or change in order to allow more reason, more voice, and hopefully more common sense within our government of a middle ground. And I would like to think and hope to think that given the current political climate, that individuals are starting to, I guess, falter in their, vehement affirmation and belief in their party system and start being like, is there not something better? Is there not something, like, everyone wants the fucking same thing. Everyone wants life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Correct.
Whether you're fucking right or left, that's what you want.
Realistically, like I said, we need people that will. I think we need a third party.
We do. We are the youngest and only two-party system in the world. Like, we need a third party.
We need a third party.
We need a fourth party. We need a fifth party. I'm fine with more parties.
Yeah.
Right?
We need a third party because you know why it sucks to be a moderate is you get demonized on either side of the house. Like, if you don't play for the left, you get demonized. If you don't play for the right, you get demonized. Like, people lose their fucking minds when I'm like, yeah, I'm pro-choice and fucking 2A. They're like, what the fuck are you
They can't fathom it.
No, they can't.
They literally can't fathom it.
They can't even fathom it. Yeah.
I've had people literally call me. They're like, so what's up with Nick? And he's like, he's confusing. That's the word that they use to describe you. Confusing.
You're confusing.
I'm like, the fuck does that mean?
I'm not confused.
Like, I don't know how to take that.
Yeah.
I mean, sure. But it's, I got resting bitch face, but I try to be a nice guy, and I stand in the middle. But former sniper and now art major.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't fucking know.
Yeah, he used to canoe people's heads, and now he paints and shoots video.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it, dude. Like, it's a tough place to be as an American because we decide elections. It's the battleground states, the moderates in this country that are like, yeah, I can go either way. The swing states, swing votes, like, those are moderate Americans like you and I that are like, well, what makes sense?
And that's 90% of the people that I hang out with.
Right, me too. I'm like, what makes sense right now? Like, what do we need? What's a good idea? Like, does anybody have any good ideas over here? No. Does anybody have any good ideas over here? Maybe. Okay, cool. Let's look over here some more. No. All right. Well, like, I hate constantly being put in a position as a moderate American where I have to vote for the lesser of two evils.
Yeah,
I hate that.
And
why can't we have a competitive voice in our election system where we can fucking bring America together, deal with this polarization issue, reduce it? Because my opinion has always been, and I've said this many, many times, we're not the rightist states, the GOP states, the leftist states, the progressive states, the Democrat states, the Republican states. We're the United States. So, like, where's that unity at? It doesn't exist right now.
We need another fucking 9/11 in order to get that shit to happen again.
We need something fucking bad.
I mean, trust me, I don't want that, but it's like, what is it going to take? Kabul didn't cause that to happen.
Nope.
Like, that was our whole fucking reason for all of this unity once upon a time back in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
And now when it happened and it faltered and innocent Marines are getting killed and everything's just getting fucking pissed away.
Mm-hmm.
No one gave a fuck. Every fucking loudmouth fuck didn't have an opinion anymore.
Yeah.
They just shut up, right? Like the first people to scream fucking wolf are no longer saying anything.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, people are fucking dying,
Yeah.
right? You give a fuck about one fucking black kid that had an issue with a police officer, whether fucking justified or not, and you throw a fit. Now cities are being burned. And now 13 innocent fucking Marines are being killed, not to mention all the Afghanis that are being beheaded and raped and fucking murdered in broad daylight. No one has fuck all to say about it. Where the fuck are you now?
Right.
Where are you now? Why did my fucking 48 friends die over the course of fucking 21 years?
Correct.
Where the fuck are you now? You
Yeah.
fucking whiny bitch. And then I fucking watch fucking Biden just try to like shove this off and blame and like cry and like all this nonsense. Meanwhile, his fucking kids getting fucked in the ass and like smoking crack. No one gives a fuck about that. And then we just hand over billions of dollars over to the fucking Taliban. And now all of a sudden, like, that is the official government of Afghanistan, which is what we were just there spending trillions of taxpayer dollars.
Fighting.
Yeah.
Fighting.
Like,
that was the enemy. The Taliban was the enemy.
And everyone agreed upon that in America for at least 15 years. Where the fuck is this now?
We left $98 billion of defense assets in that country. That none of this would be happening right now if we would have left a 2,500 man fucking unit at Bagram to manage the country and make sure that it fucking stayed on course. Which people are like, oh, we wanted to end the war. The war was pretty much over. We were just executing surgical operations at the tail end of this.
For no reason other than just supplementing, not only the death of really bad people, but also the industrial complex.
Correct, but we're also keeping a global strategic footprint in that area, because let's not forget about Iran and what they do.
Well, now China's there fucking mining the fuck out of them.
China was there when we were there fucking since the beginning, dude. Like, they were fucking winning road reconstruction contracts on their Belt and Road Initiative. Like, I have evidence of that. Like, I talked about on the last podcast. I listened to conversations with people people that worked for USAID at the fucking embassy. I would go over to the embassy for ops and intel briefs with the DEA, with USASOC, with state, with the agency. And then I would go, I'm like, okay, cool, that's done. I'm going to go grab a bite to eat. I would go down to the fucking cafeteria area, the little fucking beer garden cafeteria area, and I would eat. And I would listen to everybody that sat around those tables talk. And China has been eyeball deep in that country, winning contracts to push their Belt and Road Initiative for a full over a decade.
Remind me to tell you something after this about shit that's
okay. Yeah, I'm good for some off
because I have new news.
Yeah, offline shit. So yeah, I feel like having I had a really good idea what was going on there, and the Chinese were there for a long time doing stuff in the country. So
I mean, there's so many natural resources there. I mean, it's absolutely inevitable, especially because we softened the target, for them to swoop in. Right?
Well,
hey, we got money.
Well, the USGS came in. It was one of the conversations that I overheard. There was a bunch of USGS surveyors that were in there, and they were like talking to each other, and they were like, they're nerds, and they don't understand the fucking environment that they're in. They're just like, oh, we're here to do these things, and we're here at the embassy, and we're here in the cafeteria. They didn't have any sense of OPSEC whatsoever. So I just like sat there, and I was like slowly eating my soup, eating my salad, drinking my drink, and I'm like listening to everything they're talking about. And they're talking about like how Afghanistan is one of the leading lithium deposits in the world. Well, okay, cool. Where do we do all of our manufacturing for electronics? In China. And now lithium is a major component in producing electronics. Okay, so now you've got China in there with their Belt and Road Initiative. And this is in 2009, 2010 timeframe. China's there.
So do you think that
they're there for the lithium?
We and or China were mining lithium in any capacity at the time from 2001 to 2021?
I don't know. It's a possibility.
I never saw it.
I never saw it either.
Yeah.
I was all over that country. And I did not see.
I mean, the Asian's going to stick out pretty heavy.
Yeah, correct. The only Asians I saw were the Hazaras and fucking in the Darulaman province.
And I was up in like northern like Cunard, to where like if I look down the valley, like I could see China.
Yeah.
And I mean, if anything, it was looked like Siberians. Yeah. And stuff like that. But I mean, sure as fuck.
The only Asians that I saw were the Hazaras that were in, and they primarily kept to themselves up in Darulaman, northern Kabul, and then the Chinese that were working the roads, building the roads, because I saw them out on the roads while we were like taking convoys here and there. So I know like what we're starting to see is the war of fucking resources.
We are, because and actually I just heard this the other day, like Europe is in a massive energy crisis right now, coming up into the winter, because they received all of those resources from Russia, which are now cut off, and now they're buckling, right? Like their knees are quivering, and it's like, motherfuckers, like, could you not see this coming? Like, could you not understand that your resources, oh no, you can't, because you're too fucking financially charged and politically driven to take these resources from a country that is inherently evil, and you don't bat an eye about it, right? All these fucking woke presidents, fucking kings, queens, diplomats of these countries are bowing down to this level of communism, to terrorism, to, fucking internal spies. And they're like, yeah, but oil's worth a shit ton of money. I'll take that. Energy's worth a shit ton of money. I'll take that. Like, guess what? You made your bed. But not only, like, the politicians made their bed, but no, they made our bed too. And now we have to fucking sleep in this. And, like, how do we rectify this? Not only that, like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought Biden shut down the pipeline in Alaska, like, in the States. So it's like, the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, he's crippled the fuck out of our domestic.
Like, why the fuck are we not independent? Why we don't talk to Canada at all? I lived in Mexico for years, and Mexico is actually probably rivals Afghanistan for the largest like mineral-rich environment of all time.
And level of violence. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, we love violence. We're Americans.
Yeah.
It's like, fucking, let's go. Mm-hmm. We'll buy your gas. We'll buy your fruit. We'll buy your oil. Like, gas prices in Mexico have not changed whatsoever. I was driving across the border to Tijuana to go fill up for $50 versus $130 in the States.
Yeah, I don't blame you, dude.
And it's like, this is next door. Mm-hmm. These aren't terrorists. You know, all of a sudden, like, now there's this huge perpetuation of, like, Mexico. I mean, yeah, Mexico is crime, Mexico is cartel, Mexico is drugs and everything. But, like, also, United States is consuming them. So
we're their leading customer.
Yeah, the war on drugs isn't fucking really ever going away.
No.
Sorry, guys.
It's not.
No. And, I mean, the fucking war on terror is not going away either, but we made our bed with them. Yeah. So how about we just make our bed with Mexico and actually get something out of it, with our neighbors.
Right.
Canada, shit ton of water. We have no fucking water. Canada, shit ton of resources. We have no resources. Let's go. Let's have these conversations and let's, fucking sign legislation in order to, like, share these properties within North America.
Right.
And not fucking communist or terrorism.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's what's happening is you're seeing because of our foreign policy, we're shitting the bed on really fucking being a player on the fucking global stage in terms of, like, dominating the global stage. Like, the U.S. back in the day, like, we were running the show, and now we don't anymore. We don't, and that's a sad reality. And, like, for all my fans out there that are like, like super, super fucking red-blooded Americans that are like, no, what are you talking about? Like, it's true because I've been around the world enough. I've seen enough things. I've participated in enough conversations at super high levels where I'm like, we are not. That China is fucking a wrecking ball right now. And if we don't do something to slow them down, we're going to be in really big, big trouble. We're going to have some serious, there's going to be problems. Yeah, the situation where we have the U.S. that is not the dominant player on the world global stage anymore because China has such a huge reach into everything they've done with their Belt and Road Initiative. Like, it's substantial. Like, they own a lot of shit in South America. They own a shit ton. Like, they own 30, I think, last I read, they own like 30% of, like, a lot of major resources in Africa.
What would you think if we went into a declared war with China? What would that look like?
Oh.
Because you have a massive influx of individuals and soldiers, right? But also, they don't know war. They don't know war at all.
No.
They probably have barely even trained for it. Mm-hmm. I can foresee a massive level of ineptitude. And honestly, it's been proven with Russia.
Right.
We took Russia as this massive superpower, and Ukraine has handed out more deaths in fucking 4 months than we ever experienced in 21 years of war. So what about China?
Yeah, the Ukrainians are not fucking around, man.
No.
They're fucking serving up a massive ass whooping, and I, like, follow a lot of Ukrainian pages.
I do.
And I love the level of stoke that they have for whipping Russian ass.
Patriotism is what it's called.
Yeah, it's called patriotism.
Which we barely have anymore.
Yeah, we don't have that anymore. But it's fucking rad to watch the fucking Ukrainians be super, super stoked on fucking whipping Russian ass. And their level of morale, because they have all of these social media platforms. Thank God for Elon Musk fucking pushing satellites over there so they can keep internet going, because the level of the shit that I'm seeing on social media with how high the morale of the Ukrainians are, it's crazy. So the Ukrainians are fucking kicking ass. And let's be honest about it. Like, they're kicking ass because we are fucking supporting them. They're kicking ass because we trained them since, like, 2014. We had fucking SF going over there and training them for, like, forever. Since 14, since, like, the Crimea and Donbass shit happened. Like, we've been training them for a hot minute. So, like, they're well trained, they're well equipped, and they're fucking motivated. And they have social media. They have internet access. So they are super stoked on life. Now, a lot of people have been like, well, what do you think about that? Like, why are we supporting this war? Like, I don't know how I feel about it. And, like, at first I didn't know how I feel about it. And I didn't really support it that much at first. Like, we're coming out of a 21 year war with fucking the Middle East, with Islamic fundamentalism, terrorism, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, fucking Boko, like, you name it, like, fucking long laundry list. And now all of a sudden we're like, okay, cool. Now we're going to go fight a pure adversary. And at first I was like, I'm not down for that.
Right.
I'm not down for that. But then, like, I called the ball completely on like my prediction on like how Afghanistan was going to end and my prediction on like how Ukraine was going to start solid, and literally all within days. Like I was like, oh, we're going to have a suicide attack at the fucking airport in a few days. Called it on my fucking podcast. Boom. Happened. Which I fucking think is horrible. Then the shit with Ukraine. I'm like, yep, Russia's going to invade in this time frame. And I think I called it within a week. And they fucking invaded. And I called like why they were doing it, how they were doing it, and what was going to happen. And it all happened. So here's my, we're like 6 months into this like Ukraine invasion. And I said, realistically, at this point, I don't know really how to feel about it. I don't think we should be pumping the hundreds of billions of dollars that we're doing in there. But with Russian being with the Russians and their efforts to fuck with us with all of our endeavors across the planet, like Russia has been prevalent in supplying arms and supplying advisory roles in pretty much all of our conflicts.
They've been a redheaded stepchild the entire fucking time.
They provided advisory and weapons in Vietnam. They've definitely did it in Iraq. They supported Iran. Iran sent Quds forces down to train people in how to train the Jaish al-Mahdi militia, the JAM, in fucking how to, which is Muqtada al-Sadr's boys, which is crazy because now he's the fucking prime minister of Iraq, which fucking blows my mind because at one point he was an HVI.
I didn't know this.
He was an HVI at one point. Like we were actively hunting him and trying to kill him, and now he's the prime minister of Iraq. Yeah,
What?
Do that math. So,
Well, I mean, I'm not fucking shocked. But.
He's Shia, and he has a fucking strong tie to the fucking Iranians. And so they were sending Quds commandos down, and they were training these JAM guys in how to use fucking EFPs and how to advanced fucking paramilitary special operations shit against us. So, and the Russians were supplying that. They're like, yeah, here you go. Here's arms. Here's weapons. Here's money. Here's fucking, they were funding it. So like the Russians have been actively, and it's just like, I
sabotaging us.
Yeah. And here's how I feel with Russia the same way I do about Chinese people, where I'm like, I don't hate Chinese people. I don't hate Russian people, but your governments are actively trying to wipe us and our way of life off the planet. And they're fucking igniting proxy conflicts all over the place. And they did that. They used the Iranians as like a third party fucking proxy against us in Iraq. And they used the fucking North Vietnamese. They supplied the North Vietnamese army, and as did China back in the Vietnam War. So like we got beef with these guys on a level that I don't think most Americans, because they don't crack open history books and fucking bother to read history, understand. And so I'm in a place now where I'm like, well, I don't think we should be sending quite the amount of money that we're over there, but I also, if we're weakening a pure adversary by fighting a proxy war through the Ukrainians, I don't know that I have a super huge problem with like weakening a pure adversary that's especially supporting China, in league with China.
For sure. And especially when what we're sending over there, and granted, none of us are really privy to this because they're not in the fucking government. But from my understanding and what I've understood, it's assets, right? And if anything the U.S. military has is motherfucking assets.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I got helicopters flying around all day doing touch and goes, just burning taxpayer money. Fine. Good. I need good pilots because I once upon a time had a not good helicopter pilot.
Yeah, we need to get the fuck out of certain areas where we're getting shot at. Yeah.
And I fell out of a helicopter because he told me that I was on the ground, and then I got really broken. So like the assets are huge, right? But not at a detriment to our efficiency, right? Do we need these howitzers?
Yeah.
Potentially. Potentially, do we need this? Like, this is a massive fucking game of risk. So let's be smart and let's play the game. The problem is we don't have anyone smart moving the chess pieces.
No.
At all. And I was a chess piece and you were a chess piece. And now it's like, I get it, like I have so much, sympathy and empathy to Ukraine, especially because I've been there. And I went there and I saw firsthand what the war was doing. And I went on a documentary basis and not a conflict basis. And it was bewildering. They're like, I mean, I'm just so used to seeing Islamic, Middle Eastern conflicts.
Right.
Right. Whether it be the mountains of Kunar or the streets of Ramadi. Mm-hmm. Not the last place that I was on a work trip to talk to our marketing department. That was fucking mind blowing to me, right? Like
very surreal.
I've been to Kiev on numerous occasions for work, and their infrastructure is amazing. The country is amazing. The people are amazing. The food, like, I mean, it's so different than going to Berlin or France or, anywhere else.
They're super pro-American, super pro-Western over there. Yeah. They love it.
Yeah. It was amazing.
Which is why they're fucking smashed. Like, it's why they're doing TikTok videos on fucking dead Russians, because of our culture.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, you know what? Like, fuck, dude, I got your back. Like, one of the most disturbing things that I saw is there was this phone that was poached off of like a dead Russian guy that one of the Ukrainian dudes got. And I was talking to this guy via WhatsApp. And it actually ended up making the news. And this guy via WhatsApp is in this Ukrainian recon unit. You know, he's a recce boy. And I was like, let me help you, right? Like, let me get you geared. Now I'm with TFA, Task Force Antal. I'm able to get you things. Like, what do you need? Do you need plate carrier, helmet, sleeping bag, like whatever? And he's like, nah, I'm good. You know, my buddy needs a sleeping bag and like this and that, right? So I'm trying to facilitate this and like hook him up. But he tells me about capturing this phone off this Russian soldier that he whacked. And he was sending photos of him raping Ukrainian women. And he was sending it to his wife. And the only response that his wife sent to him is said, good, make sure you wear a condom. She had no problem that he was raping these fucking women. Like, she was proud of it.
Okay, so you're talking about the Russian he killed. The Russian's wife was saying these things via text.
Yeah. So the Russian dude that he whacked was raping a bunch of Ukrainian women as he's working his way through the eastern provinces and like Donbass region and all that stuff, and was sending photos of him raping Ukrainian women. Some of them were dead. And,
fuck.
And said, I'm fucking the shit out of these savages. And she said, just wear a condom. Good for you. And, like, that was a catalyst for me. Dude, that was a game changer. You know, people want to fucking string our asses up via war crimes and stuff like that. And I'm not negating the fact that at some point in time, there was a sprinkle of individuals that committed war crimes on behalf of, working for the United States military. Yeah. But, dude, with everything that we're seeing, like, fuck no. I don't know a single individual that would want to do that.
Yeah.
Right? And I know some savage fucking sons of bitches. They don't want to do that. And that changed the tide for me. Right? Like, that gave me this vehement opposition. And just, I was like, fuck you. Like, part of me actually wanted to, like, kid up and be like, let's go.
Yeah, let's throw down.
But also, I was the first person I publicly posted, like, we're not fucking fighting monkeys with AKs anymore. Now we're talking JDAMs. Now we're talking fucking rocket systems. Now
artillery.
Yeah, MLRS, aircraft, like all these things. Tanks.
Well, we're back to we're with a pure. You're dealing with a pure adversary, and we're back to World War II.
Yeah, straight up.
We're back to World War II,
and that was the craziest fucking thing. Seeing that shit when I was there, like, dude, we were driving down the middle of the road. I'm with two fucking CAG dudes and a former Ranger, and I'm driving down the middle of the road. And there's two fucking MiGs flying over top of our head, like probably no higher than like 2,000 feet. Afterburners on in the middle of a dogfight. And I was like, what the fuck is it? Like, dude, I was deployed for 47 months. I'd never seen some shit like that.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, obviously a dogfight. Like, I was like, this is fucking insane. Air raid sirens. Like, all this stuff, all these, like, built up bunkers. Like, it became World War II. It's very strategic as far as, like, all right, where are the bridges? What's their most likely course of action? Like, you're playing Okoa.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy shit, dude. Like, you're going right back to the FMs and the training manuals that were written, indoctrination.
That are now relevant again.
Shockingly.
Yeah, they were not relevant during our time, but they're relevant again now.
So now we went from conventional to guerrilla back to conventional. And granted, we're not fully enveloped in this conventional war, but like that's a war that's happening.
We're participating.
They're all wearing uniforms now.
Yeah.
I mean, not all of them. I'm sure there's, the guerrillas.
Yeah, soft shit.
Yeah. But it's like, oh my God. Like, this is fucking insane.
The pendulum fucking went from here back over to here.
Yep. Yeah. And it was an interesting pill to swallow, being boots on ground post-war as a veteran and now a cinematographer and a photographer and documenting this, or at least trying to document it. Right? Like I really, really wanted to. Like I wanted to get in the nitty-gritty of it.
Yeah.
For better or worse, weren't really afforded that opportunity, but I still got to see enough to end up building a level of I don't know, I guess empathy for the Ukrainian people.
So then what's your overall opinion? What's your overarching opinion of what we've got going on there? Because we're fully, make no mistake, we're involved in a proxy war.
I for reasons I can't discuss right now, I'm that's a fact.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, I don't want to give any credit to fucking douchebags, but I think that by us providing munitions, armament, support in that capacity is the best that we can do, as long as that keeps us out of this proxy war. Right? Like, we have no fucking business. I mean, it's so tough, dude. Like, I would love to push Russia's shit in, but we do not need this right now. Right? Like, we don't. And if we can utilize an individual or a country to do it on the world's behalf, which Ukraine is doing quite well.
They're doing great.
And if we can fucking support that in any capacity, and especially with all of our fucking munitions, I mean, fuck, dude, we get the Taliban fucking a couple $1 billion worth of it. Why the fuck are we not giving Ukraine some of it? You know, if anything, we should just go back to Afghanistan, withdraw all that shit, and be like, hey, you guys want a bunch of helicopters and shit? Right. Just soften the target, pick up a bunch of stuff, and take it over there. I mean, obviously, I'm being facetious, but like, they do need support, right? Because you give an inch, you take a mile. Do they need that level of support? I mean, that's not up to me to decide. Do I think that Somalia should be getting fucking money? Do I think that anybody else should be getting money? No. Like, one of the more prevalent things that I actually admired that Trump said, probably fucking pulled out of his ass, is like, we should charge people for being the babysitter of the world. Right? Like, you want our assets, you want our help, you want our CSAR, our search and rescue. Like, those 13 kids that got locked up in that, tunnel that flooded. We send individuals, it's like, pay us. Why the fuck are we doing this? Because as taxpayers, like, we're just continuously paying this. And our debt's getting even higher. Our taxes are getting even more. And the middle class is dissolving. And individuals that didn't sign up for this shit are now, having these massive repercussions. Right. With regards to our involvement in international, relations that, aside from Ukraine, don't involve us, dude. I mean, does anyone fucking remember 1993 and Black Hawk Down? Why the fuck are we still giving Somalia money? You think that is being fucking distributed evenly at all in any capacity? Fuck no.
We gave 40 million. I think it was 40 million? Million. I think we gave 40 million. 40 million to gender studies in fucking Pakistan.
That's what the U.S. Army commercials are now, is talking about pronouns. Shouldn't it be about proficiencies? Yeah. Shouldn't it be about just like this like big like ego, like, come do this, like, I want to be inspired. Yeah. I don't want to be fucking confused as to whether my first sergeant has a fucking dick taped between your legs or not.
Right, correct. Yeah,
like,
you're absolutely right.
I don't give a fuck either. You want to fucking be a Billy Badass? Like, let's go, daddy. Like, show me. Let's go. Fucking let's whack some heads. I don't give a fuck if your dick's taped up, and I don't give a fuck what your name is. Yeah. But, like, are you a leader? Yeah. Let's go. Show me leadership then. I'll follow you if you show me. Yeah. I mean, for the longest time, and this is actually a mildly embarrassing statement, when I first enlisted in 2005, I was vehemently against having gays in the military. Vehemently against it. And it's because I was fucking young, dumb, and naive. And I don't believe that anymore. And I changed my shit.
And probably how you were raised. I was raised the same way.
I wasn't actually, right? You know, I mean, I had no basis or no reason, but it was because it was a common fault, right? It's you either with them or you're against them, you know, kind of thing. And then, you know, I've had squad leaders and individuals come out, you know, post-military that fucking saw 10 times what I did as being gay. And they were some of the best leadership that I've ever had.
Yeah.
You know, so like I lost all that bias. I lost all that prejudice.
I had the same experiences. Like there was dudes that were like slayers that came out and they're like a few years after like I'd been done. And they're like, yeah, they came out of the closet. And then I was like, fuck, those dudes were fucking killing ass motherfuckers. Like I was in firefights with dudes that were fucking slaying, dude.
And I was like, shoulder fire at 240.
Mm-hmm.
And like he also loved dick.
Yeah.
Down, dude.
Yeah.
Fucking down.
Yeah, I don't really care about it. If you fucking are down for the team and you want to support the cause and you know, you're like you are supporting the dudes on the right and the left, I don't care what your sexual politics are. It's the same thing that I feel like with regard to, you know, where we are as a country with sexual politics are, and as an American, like, yeah, I mean, like, I have a huge issue if you're you know, a pedophile and you want to fuck children. Like I have a huge problem with that. But if you want to be trans, if you want to be gay and you want to do this and you want to serve and you want to in some capacity, like I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that. If that's what you want to do, provided that you fucking show some like skill competency and you're a slayer, because that's what it's about. Like people that have not served, or people that at our level or you know, at the fucking ground level of fucking killing motherfuckers, they don't understand what it is and they don't understand how it works. But I'm telling you what, like, I don't give a shit what your sexual politics are. If you can slay motherfuckers and like share an MRE with me and we can laugh about it after you fucking killed 15 dudes, like I don't give a fuck about your sexual politics. Like
I had a guy that was in my unit that loved getting pooped on. I walked in on this shit. Like, this is validated.
Was this in the barracks? This is a barracks.
Yeah. Just
crazy.
Loved getting pooped on.
Crazy things happen.
And also
in barracks.
loved, you know, fucking dildos and fingers in his ass.
Yeah.
And then he moved on to the ODAs, and now he's a fucking CSM over there. Like, one of the most
slaying ass motherfuckers.
Batshit individuals that I know. You know, like, I don't care. My only stipulation is you want to talk for... I don't want to shoot myself in the foot, but like you want to talk for equal rights, you want to talk for independence, you want to talk for inclusion, then don't make us celebrate you. Just be you.
Yeah.
And no one, like everyone that has a problem with you should be, you know, dealt with accordingly, right? Like bigotry and racism and sexism and fucking homophobia, all that shit should be dealt with accordingly. But like, you don't get a fucking special day. Right? Like, no one gets a special day. We're all in the same unit, the same military. We're all the same people. You want to be the fucking same? Guess what? You don't get a day either. You know, so let's just fucking fight this war.
Just be a part of the team.
Yeah, let's just watch each other's back. And also, the government doesn't need to fucking pay for your sex change.
No.
At all. In any capacity. I'm fine if you want to do that. But that is not on the taxpayers, and that's not on anybody but yourself.
Yeah, they're there to train us to fucking... They're there to train us to be capable of fucking high performance in war, and they're there to fucking equip us and medically care for us. They're not there to fucking to support anything else than that.
Like I've personally,
I agree with that. Like if you want to have a sex change and you want to be, you know, you're transgender in the military, great, go pay for that yourself.
Right.
That shouldn't be on the taxpayer.
No, the whole Chelsea Manning thing, like it can fuck right off, you know. And I personally know Kristen Beck. Mm-hmm. And I've had conversations with her, and I just listened to her on Rogan, and she fucking has a valid point. You know, I mean, she served her country honorably as a fucking SEAL, right? Didn't ask for handouts. I mean, granted, there's some, everyone can have an opinion, right? Yeah. And I'm not here to argue that. But what I'm saying is, well, she did it post-separation. She didn't ask the military to pay for any of this. Mm-hmm. And she's about the camaraderie, the brotherhood, and the efficiency of the unit as a whole. And she never detracted from that efficiency within her own unit, right? And I'm all about her spreading her cause, and I will fucking support that to the ends of the earth.
Well,
But no one needs to fucking bow down to you. No one needs to kiss your foot, and you don't get a special day.
She waited until she was getting out, didn't she?
Yeah. She was working for the Pentagon as a GS. Yeah, post that. But yeah, that's you do you. But with the current
don't distract or disorient from the mission.
Mm-hmm.
Don't fuck your team up with bullshit politics. Like fucking just be a part of the team.
It's no different than one of my guys got in a brand new relationship and he's pussy whipped.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, dude. Like your head's not going to be out here.
Yeah.
Because he's pussy whipped. All he's going to think about is that. Where's my girl? What is she doing? Blah, blah, blah. Like you're not in it. Like your head's not in the mission and I need your head in the mission. And like, I'm like, God damn it. Like here we go. I'm like smacking him around. I'm like, hey, don't worry about that shit right now. Like you're here, you're now. Let's go. So yeah, I don't know where you got caught up in that conversation, but
these are the politics that fucking are like swirling around us. So it's fine. I think we articulated how we feel about that. I think the thing that we need to go back and revisit though is like, what's the solution to like what the fuck is happening right now? Because I think I keep going back and forth to the problem in the fucking the defund the police shit's bullshit. We need to increase funding for police, and then here's what we need to do. They need to be fucking selected, pay raised to a 6-figure level, because the shit they have to deal with is I don't know. I don't know how cops do it. I seriously don't know how cops do it.
There's not a fucking snowball chance in hell that you could make me a cop.
Yeah, I wouldn't be a cop either.
I have a lot of friends that got out of fucking recce, snipers, everything, and went to like the police force, and they fucking hate their lives.
Yeah.
Hate them.
Yeah, I'm like, why are you doing
They're
that?
talking about the bureaucracy. They're talking about their hands being tied around their back. They're talking about the words that they need to use, the pronouns that they need to use as a police officer.
Yeah, fuck
and
that.
It's like, I'm down with standards, but like, what relevancy does that have?
Correct.
How we just talk about being a peace officer and policing shit.
Yeah.
And also, let's maybe not institutionalize and teach our kids that every fucking cop is out to kill you.
Yeah, or bad.
And then therefore they're not treated like shit. And then therefore the whole world goes around, right? Because the second a fucking cop's not called some Billy fucking faggot is the second that this cop's not going to think that you're some gangbanger and you're going to get fucking whacked. And therefore the conversation's going to go a lot better, right? But like these kids are growing up in the fucking burbs and in the hood, and being institutionalized and fucking taught that everybody with a badge is a bad person.
Right.
And you know what? Let's maybe not fucking perpetuate this, right? Because it's unequivocal. You want to talk about fucking violence? Like, let's talk about the 37 fucking people that were killed in Chicago in 10 square miles on fucking 4th of July.
Right.
Nope. No one gives a fuck about that.
No one cares.
So, like, unfuck yourselves. If you want change, then fucking be the people that enact it.
Right.
Don't just sit here and fucking throw rocks from a glass house. You fucking fuck.
Yeah.
And guess what? I guarantee you're gonna get treated better.
Yeah.
And that's how this whole world goes around. It's like the second that you're peaceful, he's peaceful, she's peaceful, and it's, dude, like peace spreads.
Well,
just
what about if we fucking we tripled the size of every department? And I know people out there are like, oh my God, triple the size. Yeah, we triple the size of every department. We triple them. And then here's what we do. We put them in 3 squadrons. And then 1 squadron's working the streets like they do every single day.
The beat.
Yep. And then you do that for 3 months. And then you rotate into 3 months of training where you're in the training squadron. So now you're going to shooting courses. You're going to de-escalation courses. You're going to fucking hostage rescue or hostage negotiation stuff. You're going into courses on like how to plug in with your community policing shit.
I think a lot of that needs to be in the first process of policing, of de-escalation, ROE, and like cultural fucking training.
Yeah, cultural training. I mean, we did that in the military.
Right, we did.
We did language and cultural training.
I was fluent in Arabic my first tour.
Yeah.
Not even like dude, we didn't even have a terp because I got that that good at it.
Yeah.
You know why? Because I don't want to fuck it up.
Yeah.
So, like, do it to a cop.
In a Tahachi Erebi Shweo.
Oh.
Yeah. I saw your face.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I do. I fucking still speak a little shit. So, like, the...
When Vietcong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Taftish.
Yeah, marhaba. So the having a cultural element of it and a community policing element of it, for sure. Having all of that into a 3-month program, like you're doing defensive tactics, you're doing CQB, you're doing like community policing, you're doing like all these things during a fucking 3-month training block.
Even the bag drills where like they put it over and like you have to assess the situation.
Yep.
They pull it up like they do in Damn Neck.
Well, yeah, of course. And it's like our, it's no different than our workups for when we were fucking deploying. Like our standard workup stuff. So like you have a policing time frame, you have a fucking training time frame, and then you have 3 months off. And then you pay these guys you pay these guys and girls 6 figures to go on vacation for fucking 3 months. And then during that time frame, like you can go on vacation and spend time with your family. And then guess what? You can also go to counseling and fucking anything that you need, like any type of mental health shit you need at that time frame. That's your time frame to go do that. Take a break, go on vacation with your family. You got 90 days, do all the fucking mental health stuff that you need to, do all the counseling stuff that you need to. And then you rotate back in to an operational.
So essentially treating like the military as far as cycles.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having
Maybe
3 cycles.
Teaching pipeline.
3 months, 3 months, 3 months, 3 months. You know, like having a cycle and having a rotation period with different fucking that's partitioned. And that's, to me, that's how we fix the policing problem in the U.S.
To only be a mild devil's advocate, I think that if you are in a sector, let's say, right, if we want to call like any neighborhood in America like a sector, those 6 months that you would have off potentially could be a detriment because you lose the lay of the land, right? Like
ops and intel briefs.
Yeah, I mean, it's left seat, right seats, right? Yeah, I mean, it could very well be that, but there's also the potential for a negative. I'm not saying it will be, but there is like the potential for it, right? Of like, oh yeah, I know this guy. I know his patterns of behavior, you know, like that kind of like those nuances. But at this point, it's fucking tenfold above what is
happening
actually happening.
Right now. Yeah. It's tenfold above what's happening.
Yeah.
Right
I mean, that's fucking miles above that. And, you know, if they want at fucking any point in time, throw a liaison in with the training fucking regiment and be like, this is what we're training our officers to prevent. You know, this is how we're trying to prevent heinous fucking involuntary, well, it's voluntary, but heinous shootings of individuals that it wasn't warranted for. Granted, there's a lot of protests too that motherfuckers deserve to get shot.
Right.
But there's also a lot of other ones that weren't. So, you know, you want to pay $10 million in restitution, or you want to pay $10 million making sure that your police force is fucking professionals. If
they're well paid, they're well trained, and they're well rested,
and they're held to a standard, right? I think every one of them needs to pass a fucking weight and tape and a PT test.
Correct.
Every quarter.
Yeah.
3 months. Let's go. Come on, daddy.
I mean, part of that fucking 3-month training block is you're fucking PTing your ass off every fucking day. Then you're going to defensive tactics. Then you're going to a fucking class on community policing. Then you're going to a class on whatever the fuck, you know, like.
You're cross-training.
Yeah.
Right? You're talking to the medics. You're talking to the hostage rescue individuals, right? And learning how to talk down individuals. And then, you know.
Carbine classes, pistol classes, fucking handcuffing classes. Like,
right, where
all
you're
the
shooting
things.
hundreds of rounds.
Yep.
I guarantee that's cheaper than fucking paying out some motherfucker that just won a civil lawsuit because of fucking Jesse Jackson.
Yeah. I think if we restructured the law enforcement under a similar model and they were well paid, well rested, well trained, we wouldn't have the shit that was going on.
No, absolutely we do not.
Well,
but the problem is
well
the
selected.
bureaucracy.
Well selected. Let's not forget that.
Well, I mean, they're struggling. I mean, do you blame not wanting to be a cop right now? Like,
No.
dude, their recruitment numbers are nil.
Dude, I have friends that are
I don't want to
cops
get spit on
Yeah.
to fucking ball up a hooker.
Yeah.
Fuck no, I don't.
No.
You think I'm going to do that on a fucking Tuesday and get paid $75,000 a year? Fuck no.
Yeah.
You know what I'd rather do? What I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like, and I would like to think of myself as a civil servant.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I am all about helping the people. Like, that's why I fucking enlisted. Well, it's not why I enlisted, but it's one of the more, I guess, profound things that I took out of my enlistment is thinking that I was doing this for the people.
The greater good.
Yeah, whether it was fucking true or false. But now it's like, there's no incentive. There's no motive. It's like, hey, I mean, honestly, I'd rather fucking go pick up trash and make the same paycheck that fucking police officers are.
Mm-hmm.
And I got fucking love for the cops, but it's like, I don't blame them. You know? I mean, I don't blame them for not wanting to do it. But I do blame them for ineptitude and not keeping up with their physical fitness, their training, their fucking combatives, you know, BJJ, whatever it may be.
Yeah, there's some accountability there, but I don't necessarily completely put that blame on them. I put that blame on their department and their municipality for not fucking having a higher standard and higher fucking awareness of like what it takes to do the job and train people and take care of them and pay them in proportion with what the level of stress and responsibility that they take on. That's my biggest problem with policing is like, we don't pay them enough and we don't take good enough care of them for what the job that they do.
No, not at all. Not in any capacity.
Yeah.
And because you said that, I thought about the same thing for teachers.
Yeah.
Like,
Same thing with teachers. Yeah, absolutely.
This is the future of our world.
Yep.
Our country, our children.
Mm-hmm.
And you're paying them fucking $35,000 a year and making them buy pencils out of their own fucking pocket?
Yeah.
Like, in what world is that acceptable?
Yeah.
Like, if we want to be the leader, if we want to take this level of pride and being forward and ahead of the curve, why the fuck can no teacher live off of their salary? I don't give a fuck what part of the country you live in.
We're like 70th place in like world.
That's why San Diego State is 65% Chinese population.
Mm-hmm. Oh, don't even get me started on that.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother podcast. But
we need to end this.
I'm correct. So I feel like we definitely should wrap things up. But I feel like also that we could do a lot better job on a lot of things if we just would stand up and demand change, and we just don't.
And well, I mean, the country as a whole is willing to stand up and demand change, but just not the right change. And not for the right reasons. Mm-hmm. It's like, how do we, I mean, if they're that easily manipulable, how can we as the quote unquote good guys, which I'm self-labeling, how do we do that in order to help alter their thought, in order to help change their radical behavior for something that's better and something that's more constructive, right? Like, dude, even if I'm vehemently against something and I'm willing to protest against it, you know what I'm not doing? Fucking stealing Rolexes and Nikes and burning down shit. I'm not. I'm just there. You know, I'm going to be a voice. And that's not enough anymore. Apparently, you have to fucking burn down shit. So, I'm like, how do we alter that, right? I mean, they're willing to stand up and be martyrs, but misguided and miseducated. And not for the right reasons.
Right.
So how do we get them on our side? You know, I mean, it's almost like an ODA tactic. How do we get the bad guys on our side in order to fight the enemy that is the government,
or the people that are on the fence?
Mm-hmm.
Because that was a lot of what Afghanistan was. Is you had a lot of fucking tribal stuff that was like, they were not Taliban, but they were not friendly.
Happy. No, I got called a Russian when I was up in the middle of Kunar. I'm like, homie, dude.
Oh, I did too.
That was 87.
Yeah. I had a tribal chief walk out to me when I landed in a area in Farah province, and they fucking walked out to me and they accused me, like he started speaking Russian to me, and I was like, I'm not. I looked at my fucking terp and I was like, tell this dude I'm not Russian. Yeah. And he had no idea. This was like in 2006. He had no idea.
2006, fuck, you're old, dude.
I know, I'm old as fuck. Yeah.
I say that. I was in Ramadi in 2006, so.
Yeah.
What a world we live in. Mm-hmm. What a world we live in.
We live in a fucking world, and we've chopped it up good. I feel like we've put out a good effort here.
Oh, I mean, it's been a hefty effort, and there is one other thing that I have to say, right? And we were talking about making this change, and we were talking about bringing people to this common ground of understanding and a harmonious balance and symbiotic relationship of just the betterment of society. And the only way to do that is fucking stop being assholes. Just stop being mean. You know, like, I know it's tough, but, you know, you and I are not going to, incentivize anybody to listen to us if we're like, yo, bitch, like, listen to me because this is the right way. No, like, it's not going to work, right? And honestly, it's almost, at this point, it's like talking about religion. Like, I don't want to let anyone down, but, like, don't be a prick. Like, don't give individuals a reason to hate your thought process or common sense in general, right? Like, regardless of whether you like it or not, you know, just like the same shit that I heard in Canada. I didn't like it, but I wasn't mean about it. Right. I just brought up very relevant examples of why there was hypocrisy involved in the statements that person was making. I wasn't like, fuck you. You know what I mean? Which I very well could have done.
I've been on the receiving end of that.
But that's not going to help.
Yeah. No,
you know
it's not.
I mean?
It's not going to help. And to your point, like, I want everybody to live their best life and to pursue life, liberty, and happiness in the way that they feel fit. And I think that's where libertarians get like a bad rap, is like, or libertarianism gets a bad rap because people are like, oh, you guys are anarchists. You guys don't believe in any type of government. You guys don't believe in any type of rules. You guys don't believe in anything. And realistically, like, that's not my thought process.
No, not at all.
My thought process is like, no, I'm just a middle of the road dude that's not way over here on the.
If it doesn't harm me or hurt me, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I'm just not over here on the turning point.
You know, and I know that's a generalization, but like, in the grand scheme of things, if it doesn't harm me or hurt me, I'm not mad about what you do.
Yeah.
I'm not the person to tell you what to do in your bedroom. I'm not the person to tell you what to do in the hospital.
Yeah.
I do not care. All I want to be is the fucking neighbor to you that walks outside and just like, hey, Frank, what's up, Nick? And then, you know, shake hands, have a barbecue, and fucking go back inside.
Right.
And you could be a tranny. I don't care.
I don't care
tranny
either.
Service member. I'm all about it.
I agree completely.
It's just be fucking dope, because like, no one's going to get anywhere with hate and anger.
No.
I mean, that's never gotten the world anywhere. And that's, I mean, fuck, dude, you and I have seen enough of that. So that's the last thing that I want.
Correct.
I mean, no, like, thanks. I'm good. You know, like, I'm fucking good. All I want to do is like, just be with my girl, raise babies, and fucking have a dope ass life.
I want to do me, and I want you to do you, and I want the least government interference in that fucking as possible. That's my philosophy on things.
Right. And I've failed to understand how some people just don't understand that. It's like, wait, are you telling me you want more government? Are you telling me that you want to pay more money in order to help someone else that doesn't want to help himself? That's what I fail to understand. And I'm like, come on. No one fucking gave me a handout, and I fucking had fuck all.
Well, guess what? I'm on the other end of the spectrum where I'm like, okay, cool, we need socialized programs. Okay, I'll support that. What does that look like? How much is the payout on that? And then what's the exit strategy? What is the exit ramp and the incentive program to get off of that and onto your own track? That's my thing. My thing is,
what's a goal? Not sustainment.
Yeah.
I want to have a deadline on this, right? Like, in the event, and this is a prime example, right? When I was fucking down and out, I had to ask my best friend in the world for a loan. I had to. I had no choice. I couldn't fucking move back up to San Diego. I had $1,000 my name. I just gotten fucking laid off. I had to ask for a loan. There was an exit strategy in that conversation. I'm like, Craig, I will pay you back in 6 months. I promise. I just need this bump. And I need it because I need to be able to fucking put a first and last down, like, on this apartment.
Yep.
You know, like, I need a deposit. And that was the bump that he gave me. And in 6 months, I fucking paid him back in full. And that's the agreement that we had, right? And like that's the only reason he even fucking loaned me money is because he had faith that like I'm not suckling money.
Right.
You know, like this isn't a pacifier. This is a blue pill to the benefiting off of success.
Right.
And I was like, I promise I won't let you down. And I talked about it in my doc, and it's like, that's what I needed, you know? And like, trust me, that was one of the most embarrassing things I've ever done in my life is ask my best friend for money. As a 32-year-old, but I did it. And he gave a fuck. And I paid it back in full.
Yeah,
and
you paid him back in full, and here you are.
And I didn't let him down.
No.
I did not let him down, and I fucking refused to. I'm like, I got you, dude. Because even letting him down at that point, like, not only is that embarrassing enough, but then not being able to pay him back when I told him I could is even more embarrassing.
Right.
You know, so it's like, yeah, what's our exit strategy? How do we get these people off the street? How do we get people back into careers and jobs? Like, I love working. You know, like, I'm not looking for a fucking free ride.
No.
I'm just looking for an opportunity. And that's what this country is founded on. Luckily, I found it and I chased it. But a lot of people are fucking lazy too, you know? I can't chalk them up with being me or having my same mindset. But to your point, what's the end strategy? Let's stop just like continuously dumping money in this in order to like sustain fucking rape and drug addiction and fucking mental health issues. Like, what are we doing to empower them?
Yeah.
In order to make them better people, in order to get them on their feet, in order to make, dude, I mean, there's no better position in the world. I've watched so many YouTube videos of like some influencer hooked up a homeless person, gave him a shit ton of money, put him in a hotel room, gave him a haircut, give him a fucking job, and they're bawling. And they're like, thank you. Fucking thank you. Like, this is all I needed. And I don't know if there was success after that. I fucking sincerely hope that there was, but it's like, that to me is just like, dude, that makes me fucking happy. Like, that makes my heart warm. I
like helping people too.
Giving that person that opportunity.
Yeah, giving that person that opportunity.
Granted, there's millions that don't want it or give a fuck. But.
Yeah, and that's the problem. And that's the burden on the taxpayer that I'm talking about, where
Right.
you just have this like suck, this huge suck with no exit strategy. There's no off ramp to this fucking program. Do I believe that there needs to be socialized programs to help people? Yes, absolutely. But there needs to be a plan and a strategy and a structure to how to help these people, educate them, help them learn how to.
This isn't a methadone clinic. This is rehab.
Right. Learn how to be independent and then fucking transition off the taxpayer dollar and be independent.
Right.
Those are the things.
That's a tall ask. I feel like that's easy for you and I to say.
It's completely. You're absolutely right.
But a lot of those people don't want to fucking change anything.
No.
And I wish them the best, but it's an undeniable fact.
Yeah. And then we just keep paying the price.
Yep.
So these are the things that I'm like, okay, well, we need change. How do we affect change? How do we get change? I think a lot of people, our demographic, are asking this question, like, how do we affect change? How do we get change? How do we reverse the fucking trajectory we're on? Because we're not on a positive trajectory.
Nope, we're the goldfish going down the toilet bowl.
Yeah, I don't want to be that. I want to make YouTube videos and surf and write books and fucking be happy and like watch my son fucking do amazing things. I don't want to be leading a fucking cell of fucking revolutionaries in the fucking mountains of fucking wherever the fuck I am, you know. I don't want to be doing.
Dude, honestly, that. I'm fucking so over wiping my ass with a leaf.
Right.
I'm good.
Yeah.
No, I'm fine with the house.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a criminal of the state.
Yeah. My neck hurts from wearing fucking helmets and night vision goggles.
Oh my god. Well, luckily now they're way cheap, but now we got counterweights.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're way lighter. Dude, honestly, if I had the fucking 81s, those ones, if I had the quad nods like the 81s when I was in, like I used them on a helicopter hog hunt once, I'm like,
it's ridiculous.
I
fucked with them too. They're ridiculous. They're absolutely ridiculous. You're like,
I'm like, do you know how many more people I could have fucking killed with these?
Mm-hmm.
This shit is amazing.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Or Daddy wants fucking 90 G's worth of nods.
Or just UAV tech. Like me fucking doing all the fit ops that I did, I was just like, if you would have fucking given me switchblades, I would have. You give me quads and fucking switchblades and
Quads
fucking
and
like
tomahawks.
ATACs back in the day. Like, give me a fucking ATAC. Like, if I could do point and click shit and then I could launch fucking my own little like loitering fucking munitions and like had quads back in the day.
Game over, son.
The shit that I could have fucking done, man. Like
Game
I would
over.
have dominated whole entire provinces of fucking the country, dude.
Fuck, dude. Especially with nods. Like, I was rocking a thermal in my right eye and, like, a fucking night vision on my left eye.
Mm-hmm.
Because, especially, like, when I was in vehicles, I couldn't see, like, with the thermal, like, through, like, the poke glass.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right. And then, like, J-Tax and air on left ear and then ground on right ear. Like, I'm kind of embarrassed looking back on it because, like, it took so much mental strength to be able to, like, see through two different types of things and then listen to two different types of things and then coordinate fucking 5 types of things at 25.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, help me.
Yeah, 25 in the dark, in the middle of a fucking country where everybody's trying to kill you.
Now I'm 35.
No big deal.
Crusty.
All right, man. Let's call it.
Cheers.
You got fucking... Dude, this has been great. Do you got dad advice for fucking people? I always like to close out with dad advice. You got
Dad advice, dude. I don't have any dad advice. I want to be a dad. You know, I previously got a vasectomy in Tijuana that I put on my Instagram, and it was kind of gnarly. I mean, smoke was coming off my fucking Vas Dev.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he was a veterinarian. But I found him on Yelp, and like his Yelp account like looked like pretty fucking polished. And so I'm sitting there and I got my rainbows on my feet and my fucking jeans are at my knees. And this guy is like literally balls deep with fucking a soldering iron and a razor. And like my head's getting tired because like there's nowhere to like put my head. And I look back, and when I look back, I see this buttstock and a banana mag on top of this medicine cabinet. And I was like, amigo, ¿tienes AK?
Yeah.
I was like, sí. I was like, ¿por qué? He's like, ¿por qué no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. Why not?
Fucking Raj, dude.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, he's got fucking incisors and clamps and shit around like my ball sack. So, long story short, I have a vasectomy, but now I have an amazing woman, and I would love to have babies, especially because I'm getting old. So, dad advice. Treat your woman like a queen. Always be honest.
If she's the right one.
Yeah, if she's not, throw that bitch to the fucking wayside.
Yeah.
And actually, all right, any motherfucker listening, I spent 10 years of my life wasting away with just a very unhealthy relationship. So it's not always right. You know, like, if you're not happy, then it's not happy. But treat your woman like a fucking queen. Be in a healthy relationship. If she doesn't support you, fucking drop her. If she doesn't tell you to go pursue your passions, drop her. If she doesn't support you in any capacity or any of your endeavors, you can fucking drop her.
Yeah, if she thinks she wants to be some princess that you need to pay for her life, fucking drop her.
There's no such thing as a fucking allowance.
Yeah.
You know, no. Like,
sorry,
you guys need to be
show
equal
up
partners.
Yeah, be an equal partner.
Equal partners. And yeah, that's my only advice. And once upon a time, when I do have a kid, it's gonna be the hard knocks life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's gonna be just tough but insatiable love.
If you have kids,
I'm not gonna fucking pick you up, but I'm also gonna tell you that I love you to death, and I'm gonna tell you how to do it better the next time.
Yeah, I think okay, that's good dad advice. And on that note, we'll get the fuck out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, this has been a good cast. By the way.
It has been.
Good long journey.
It's been a wild one.
I fucking love it, dude.
I have a strong feeling we're gonna be canceled after this one.
Yeah, fuck it. I don't give a fuck. All right, folks. Thanks for fucking joining us. Appreciate you, and we will catch you on the next episode of the Lone Element Podcast. Peace.
No, nothing.